Ah, ancient Greece, home to glorious architecture, beautiful vistas, Mount Olympus, the Olympians, and some of the most fascinating and brutal punishments ever handed out by the gods that ruled. We're not talking about a light spanking here. We're talking strapped down, clamped, and being stomped on levels of punishment. Stomped on with high heels, 5-inch high heels. You know, the real depraved stuff. Stuff that'll make you think, bloody hell, that's a bit far. So, get ready for a journey through the ancient tales of those who defied the divine and suffered eternal torment for their audacity. Are you ready? Yeah? And shall we? Prometheus, an ancient Greek titan, was tasked with the creation of man. To help these fragile beings, he shaped humans from clay and gave them the upright posture of the gods. Realizing their vulnerability, Prometheus decided to hook up humanity with a crucial gift: fire. This element, essential for warmth, cooking, and metalwork, was zealously guarded by Zeus, who had explicitly forbidden its possession by mortals. Like a true ninja, Prometheus stealthily infiltrated Mount Olympus, swiped some fire, and stashed it in a hollow fennel stalk to give to mankind. Naturally, this cheeky move didn't slide past Zeus. Big Daddy Zeus, not one to take theft lightly, cooked up a punishment of epic cruelty for Prometheus. He was chained to a rock on the desolate slopes of Mount Caucasus, where every day a monstrous eagle, the embodiment of Zeus's fury, would swoop down and snack on his liver. Each night, as if by some gruesome magic, his liver would regenerate, setting him up for endless daily agony. A delightful routine that lasted about 30,000 years. But every dark cloud has a silver lining. Enter Hercules. Part of his 12 labors, and with a thumbs up from Zeus, good old Hercules swung by and freed Prometheus, who quite understandably never pinched anything from the king of gods again. Moral of the story? Stealing is bad, folks. Switching to another Greek legend, we meet Sisyphus, the sly king of Corinth. His saga begins when he blabbed one of Zeus's top secrets, revealing to the river god Asopus the whereabouts of his daughter Aegina, whom Zeus had nabbed. Infuriated by this leak, Zeus slapped Sisyphus with an eternal timeout in Tartarus, the underworld's VIP lounge of doom. Even in death, Sisyphus kept his cunning charm. Before his death, he convinced his wife to toss his naked body into the public square, testing her loyalty and disrespectfully skipping the funeral fanfare. Once in the underworld, he sweet-talked Persephone into letting him pop back to the surface to scold his wife over the improper send-off. What a charmer, indeed. However, once topside, Sisyphus broke his promise to return to the underworld, squeezing out a few extra years of life. The gods weren't having it and eventually dragged him back. His new gig? Rolling a massive boulder up a steep hill, watching it roll back down every time it nearly reached the top. Rinse and repeat, forever. Legend has it, if you visit the Greek underworld today, you might see him still at it, muttering, "Gosh darn it," every time the boulder thunders back down. Brutal, yes, but think of those gains, bro. Tantalus, a name that might ring a bell as the origin of the word tantalize, was another Greek figure known for catching the ultimate bad break in the mythological punishment department. His story is a textbook case of what not to do if you want to stay on the gods' good side. So, who was this Tantalus guy? Well, he was a king and, impressively, a son of Zeus. With divine blood and royal swagger, Tantalus was invited to dine with the gods, a privilege that was pretty much the ancient equivalent of a backstage pass to a Taylor Swift gig. But instead of just being chill and enjoying the ambrosia, Tantalus decided to test the gods' omniscience. Big mistake. In a ghastly move, Tantalus cooked his own son, Pelops, and served him up as a meal to the gods. Yes, you heard that right. He thought this would be a good way to see if the gods could really tell everything that was going on. Turns out, yes, they could. Appalled by this horrific act, the gods quickly restored Pelops to life and then turned their wrath onto Tantalus. His punishment? An eternity in Tartarus, the deepest depths of the underworld, experiencing eternal hunger and thirst. Picture this: he was stuck in a pool of water underneath a fruit tree with low branches. Whenever he reached for the fruit, the branches lifted out of reach. When he bent down to sip the water, it receded, hence tantalizing frustration. Forever just out of reach of what he desired most. Tantalus's tale serves as a grim reminder. Don't feed human meat to gods, or anyone for that matter. Just avoid cannibalism in general. Speaking of cannibalism, meet Erysichthon, the man who ate himself. Erysichthon, often nicknamed the tree hacker or nature's nemesis, was a Thessalian king with a serious disregard for divine green spaces. One day, in a fit of hubris so typical of mythological monarchs, he decided to chop down a sacred grove dedicated to Demeter, the goddess of agriculture and the harvest. Why? To build himself a fancy banquet hall, because apparently, in ancient Greece, nothing said royal party pad like furniture crafted from holy trees. But here's the twist. One of these trees was home to a dryad nymph who, understandably, wasn't thrilled about being evicted from her wooden abode. With her dying breath, she cursed Erysichthon. Demeter, also not pleased with having her sacred grove turned into timber, decided a little creative punishment was in order. She called upon Limos, the spirit of unrelenting hunger, to teach him a lesson. The curse was brutally efficient. Erysichthon was struck with a hunger so fierce he would have eaten a whole food truck if they had existed back then. No amount of food could satisfy his appetite. He started by draining his royal coffers to buy food, then resorted to selling all his stuff, and finally, in a twist of desperate irony, he sold his own daughter into slavery. But the hunger was insatiable. He ended up chewing on his own furniture, and when that wasn't enough, well, let's just say he took biting the hand that feeds you to a whole new level. The myth ends with Erysichthon eating himself, a gruesome finale to his story of sacrilege and desecration. Now, let's take a ride on the wild, flaming wheel of punishment with Ixion, the audacious king of the Lapiths. His story? Oh, it's a spicy one, folks. Ixion's downfall began when he fell head over heels for Hera, the queen of the gods. Now, wooing a goddess might sound like a daring romantic escapade, but here's the catch. Hera was already taken. By Zeus, the big cheese of Olympus. Ignoring this small detail, Ixion's heart was set ablaze with desire, and he concocted a cunning plan to win Hera's affections. In a move that can only be described as audacious, Ixion murdered his father-in-law. Yes, you heard that right. He thought bumping off his wife's dad would somehow impress her. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Hera was not amused. And Zeus, well, let's just say he wasn't the forgiving type. So Zeus decided to put Ixion's aspirations for a divine romance to the ultimate test. He created a perfect replica of Hera out of clouds and presented her to Ixion. Falling for the ruse, Ixion embraced the cloud Hera with all the passion in his heart. But Zeus wasn't finished with his punishment. Oh no, that would have been too easy. As a punishment for his audacity and betrayal, Zeus condemned Ixion to an eternity of torment on a fiery, ever-spinning wheel. Like a roundabout from hell, Ixion was strapped to a burning wheel, perpetually spinning through the air, his screams lost in the roar of the flames. Each rotation brought him face to face with his crimes, a relentless reminder of his folly, his cries of too fast, ignored, spinning in a fiery state of dizziness for all eternity. Next up we have the story of Arachne, whose talent and hubris wove her a web of eternal punishment. Arachne, a mortal weaver of unparalleled skill, lived in the region of Lydia. Her tapestries were so exquisite that people whispered that they must have been created by the gods themselves. Flattered but fiercely proud, Arachne scoffed at the idea. She boldly claimed that her skills surpassed even those of Athena, the goddess of wisdom and weaving. Such audacity did not go unnoticed. Athena, incensed by Arachne's arrogance, disguised herself as an old woman and warned the young weaver to humble herself and seek the goddess's forgiveness. Arachne, undeterred and brimming with confidence, challenged Athena to a weaving contest to prove her superiority. The stage was set. Athena and Arachne wove side by side, their looms clicking furiously. Athena's tapestry depicted the glory of the gods and their rightful place over mortals, while Arachne's work showcased the scenes of the gods' misdeeds and failures, a bold and provocative choice. When the contest concluded, Athena had to admit that Arachne's work was flawless, but it was Arachne's insolence and the audacity of her subject matter that sealed her fate. Enraged by the defiance and disrespect, Athena tore the tapestry to shreds and struck Arachne down. In utter despair and humiliation, Arachne hung herself. Yet even in death, Athena's punishment was not complete. The goddess transformed Arachne from a woman, sworn enemy of the male species, into a spider, sworn enemy of humankind, condemning her to weave for eternity. So next time you see a spider meticulously weaving its web, just think to yourself, is that an actual spider? Or is that actually a woman who's beaten Athena in a race or knitting competition or something? Now let's dive into the tragic tale of Niobe, whose pride led to a punishment of profound sorrow and eternal mourning. Niobe, the queen of Thebes, was blessed with great fortune. She had a loving husband, King Amphion, and 14 beautiful children, 7 sons and 7 daughters. Her life seemed perfect. She took immense pride in her large, thriving family. However, her pride soon morphed into hubris. In her arrogance, Niobe began to boast that she was superior to Leto, the mother of the twin gods Apollo and Artemis. She claimed that while Leto had only 2 children, she had 14, making her more worthy of admiration and reverence. Such blasphemy did not sit well with the gods. Apollo and Artemis, incensed by Niobe's insolence towards their mother, decided to teach her a lesson. With swift and deadly precision, Apollo struck down all 7 of Niobe's sons while they practiced their athletic skills. Artemis followed, taking the lives of Niobe's 7 daughters as they were at their daily tasks. That's one way to stick up for your mother. Niobe's joy turned into unimaginable grief. Her once vibrant home was reduced to silence, filled with only her heart-wrenching cries. Her husband, Amphion, overcome with sorrow, took his own life, leaving Niobe utterly desolate. As she mourned, her grief was so immense that it drew the pity of the gods. So, they thought, we know exactly what you need, and transformed her into a stone statue, forever frozen in her anguish. How kind. Even in her stone form, Niobe continued to weep, and it is said that her tears form a stream at the base of the mountain where she stood. Infinite water source for those dry and hot Greek days. Result. Well, ladies and gents, there you have it. The most dreadful, disgusting and downright dastardly punishments handed out by the gods in Greek mythology. Which one is the worst in your opinion, dear viewer? Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Bye-bye.